So, hello, welcome to an episode of Rustacean Station. I'm your host, Alan Wyma. Today we have two people from a project called Hopp, H-O-P-P. We have Iason and Costa. They're working on this project called Hopp, which is actually quite interesting. It's an interesting space. It's before I'd rather let you guys probably talk about it than me, so I'll make sure I don't get it wrong.
Sure. So Hopp is basically a remote pair program tool, which is built by developers for developers. And what this means, you can pair program with your teammate with low latency and crisp quality. So if you used in your day-to-day work Google Meet or Slack Huddle or Microsoft Teams or maybe even Zoom, you may notice that every time you screen share, your teammates will say, please zoom in your screen because I cannot read the characters. They cannot control your screen, so they will say, no, please go to the left or to the right or click here and there. So, it pretty much ruins your productivity flow. And this is what we try to fix. It's a pair programming tool tailored for developers and the workflows you're doing. That means if you pair program inside your IDE, if you debug your Grafana dashboards, or if you, start drawing architectural designs. So this is where Hopp comes in. And of course, it's based in Rust, and that's why we are here. The core is Rust-based and on Tauri, which is also Rust-based, and happy to talk more about this.
Well, I mean, before you even get more started on the project itself, it'd be good to hear more about your backgrounds, right? Because I was just browsing through the website, and it seems like some pretty specialized technology. I mean, did you guys have some background in this kind of tech, or was it just you had an issue and then you started digging into it and ran into a product idea, or what?
Yeah, our background specifically, just a super short intro about us. We're both Greeks. We know each other from university, and we started the startup back in the days around artificial intelligence and predictive design, predictive analytics, basically on designs. From my side, I was running this startup until 2021. It got acquired by a company in Denmark, and then I joined a database company in Sweden. And for the last years, I was working with databases. And the last professional years of mine, I was pairing literally every day with a colleague of mine from Germany. And this is where I found the gap. So we were pairing in Slack Huddle, and the quality was really, really bad. The latency was bad, and we didn't have the best productivity flow. And that's where I started searching around, and I found some alternatives that were working really well. But the thing is that it was super expensive to use them, like $30 per month per seat, which is um, un- untouchable. Effectively, if you're a European company and you ask your manager, can I have $30 per seat for my team to use a tool? They will say, just use Google Meet. I don't care. I mean, they will not expense it. It's that simple. And that was a gap in the market because it was super expensive, and also it was not open source. And I get that it's super hard to make it open source, but we felt that this is something we can contribute to the community effectively. And that's how I discussed this with Jason. I was like, or Iason. I was like, low level C, C++, which would be needed for the WebRTC internals. I know how to make products and backend. Let's make this happen. And yeah, Iason, you can tell if you want the rest of the story, who are you also, and everything.
Yeah, as Costa said, we start this startup in uni, and then I left because I wanted to do more low-level software and went to a robotics lab in our university. And then I wanted to go even lower, so graduated, left the robotics lab, and went and started working at ARM. In my day job, I'm working on the Mali driver at ARM. I do software for that, and we don't pair in at our day job, but we collaborate. So because we're hybrid, sometimes we hop on a call, we start to debug together, And when Costa mentioned to me the workflow that she tried with the other proprietary tools, it clicked. It's much easier to, if you want to show something on your editor, and instead of saying to the other person, scroll, go to the other file, just take control and drive the screen. And yes, Costa said, because of my day job and my experience there, I have experience with C, C++. I also had done a toy project in Rust. I had written a web server and with Actix Web, and I like that. And I thought that let's go do the software. We need to make it performant and use Rust.
Okay, I was kind of curious about the name of Hop. Is it just because let's hop on a call and
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the initial name was Renki, which was something like a twist of a Japanese word, but it wasn't brandable enough. But I think Hop clicked because it's literally what you say. Let's hop on a call, which is a little twist, Hop with double P, and it was a fun name. Yeah.
To be honest, I liked Renki as well because I think it's collaboration in Japanese. But Hopp it sounds better.
I'm also kind of curious, like, what is with all these people wanting to use Japanese words in their in their names? I never really understood that.
I'm not sure, but I think the most popular, in the technology spectrum, thing was Heroku that started this Japanese name on your brand. I'm not sure if it was something before, but definitely Heroku popularized it a lot.
Yeah, but I wonder if it's because they were always reliant, or not reliant, but like in love with, or really love using Ruby. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I think that was their first.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe that's why, I don't know. I had to look into it, but yeah. But now Heroku is such a word. Like it, I don't even think it's even like when I think of Heroku, I don't think about Japanese,
Yeah.
word. It's just a word now. I'd like to discuss about how you actually first got started into this, and what was the technology? Because has it always been Rust since day one?
Yeah, so when we started in the exploration phase, let's call this, and after we found out how other competitors, let's say, they were building their stuff to be cross-platform, we started evaluating frameworks, and that's where we found Tauri, which we thought that it's gonna help us accelerate the cross-OS development we are doing. And for those who are not familiar with Tauri, it's a Rust-based framework that uses WebKit in macOS as the browser engine, a WebView 2 in Windows, which is Chromium-based, and WebKit GDK in Linux. So we said, okay, that sounds promising. Let's use that and then try to decompose stuff that we want. The very first thing that we found out was that if we started with Tauri to do simple screen sharing, because browsers actually allow for screen sharing, we found a roadblock. Mainly, the roadblock was that you couldn't tweak low-level WebRTC APIs, and that means that we couldn't achieve really, really low latency. And yeah, so that was the very first part that we started decomposing from Tauri and porting this to Rust to achieve super low latency sharing from the one that is streaming, the one that is uploading the stream. So that was the technology. Some other components that we thought when we started was, okay, we want to make it open source, and that means that we want to make this super easily self-hostable. And that meant for us, we used LiveKit for WebRTC infrastructure. LiveKit is also open source. You can spin up a server locally super easily. You can self-host this, which was nice. Of course, Postgres as a database, open source. Everybody loves Postgres. So it was an easy choice also there. I'm not sure if I forget something, Iason, around our picks.
Yeah, as Alan said, you have to think about sharing the media, audio, and in your screen and camera. So that's why we also went with WebRTC. They are using WebRTC on the browsers for. It's a protocol that's been there for a while, and it's been battle tested. And we also checked other projects. For example, we had tried Z, and we saw that you can also screen share via Z, and it felt quite responsive, the screen sharing, and we saw that they're using the LiveKit Rust SDK for their screen sharing. that was another point for LiveKit. And so yeah, that's why we decided, okay, we'll offload all the WebRTC stuff to LiveKit, and that will make our life a bit easier because they have the infrastructure and also they have the clients. So you have just to focus on your app's logic, and you don't have to start thinking, how do you connect to one user in India and the other in the States, and you will have what happens when the packets are dropping, how do you handle these kind of edge cases. And something else that we also had to consider is because we are doing remote control, so we need to simulate mouse movement, mouse keys, keyboard presses, and that was another thing that we decided we need a low-level language like Rust or C, C++, so we can have access to the OS APIs.
So this product, though, I'm kind of curious because I love, of course, every developer loves the idea of open source, right? But you're also charging, money on this, right? So why would I pay if I could just, I mean, do I get everything that you guys are using with open source? I could just run it myself. So what's the point of me paying? Is it just like the peace of mind that somebody else can handle everything else?
Yeah, effectively, that's pretty much it. And if you think about this, it's not an easy infra to. I mean, you can self-host your backend. That's okay. But then there is the app distribution. I mean, if you want to handle the app distribution, and that means building clients or the desktop application for each OS, it's totally up to you to do this and distribute them. Which for many teams, this is the main pain point, effectively. And there are other models that you can do. For example, we are right now in the design phase of trying to understand how you can self-host the backend yourself, provide your own LiveKit key, so you host the WebRTC server, the WebRTC infra, and the backend. But we will provide the app client because you want to stop focusing on distributing this app, and you will only provide the backend link. So everything from the backend will be owned by you, data by you. We own the app, so we can help you with the distribution. But effectively, everything is literally open source, so you can just try, build this, and distribute this yourself. But the pain point when you try to distribute a desktop app is that you need to actually build this and distribute this yourself. That means licensing, keys, and everything that comes with that.
Yeah, and something else that we're thinking is that it's not, there are a few products that do the same thing. They are ultra low latency and they work. So we thought that the technology is not, it's not novel itself. So why having something closed source when almost anyone can do it? And yeah.
We were just discussing about some features that you have. Maybe we can actually talk a little bit more about those features because I think some of the features have brought along to that blog post that you was sent to me, which was quite interesting about what you're trying to do. I'm not sure how we can discuss this, but I think it's a good chance for you guys to talk about what's Hopp, all the different features that you guys have that maybe can differentiate yourself, and also the issues you guys ran into when trying to implement those.
Yeah, we can start with the most fundamental workflows we allow with Hopp, and it's basically audio and screen sharing. So it's like Google Meet, it's like Slack Huddle, like Microsoft Team calls. No difference there. So it's basically video conferencing, let's call this. The fundamental difference that we provide is we provide super low latency on your screen sharing and super good quality, high definition quality, or even 4K quality. And this means that you feel when you control your teammate's computer that is your local computer because everything is high definition. And because everything is fast, everything feels native. Again, like working on your own computer. So that's the main difference between other conference tools. Um, and So those are the building blocks, and the other parts. For example, the number one requested feature that we now support is the drawing feature. That means that if you don't want to control your teammate's computer, because some people feel stressful around controlling their teammate's computer, they just want to draw. So, for example, go and look here, or go and click here. They want to draw on the other person's screen. So this is what we also support right now in Hopp. Uh, and yeah, and why we discussed again super low latency. let's break down why we need super low latency. Effectively, our threshold is 100 milliseconds back and forth. When I mean back and forth, if you're the controller and you send a click event, this should go to the one that is sharing the screen, get applied, and then send the video frame back to the controller and get rendered. So this whole feedback loop should be less than 100 milliseconds. And why do we need that? Based on Apple's human interaction guidelines, this is the threshold that something starts to not feel native, to start to feel a little bit sluggish. So this is the target we have. And to achieve that, of course, as we said before, WebRTC inside the browser is not sufficient. And that's why we decoupled this and we ship our own WebRTC distribution built on Rust to achieve this. But effectively, that's what Hopp is doing, and that's the main differentiation between Google Meet, Slack, Huddle, and everything else. All those tweaks that make this super suitable for development workflows effectively. Maybe if we wanted to increase the umbrella, maybe you're a designer, you want to use this because you also collaborate a lot and you want low latency if you design in Figma with another product manager, for example, let's say. But those are the workflows and the decisions around, the specs we had.
Something also for camera, you can see your teammates. And another differentiator with the conventional tools is that you don't have to send a link to join a call or to join a room. You go to our app, you call the other person, you click call, it's ringing, you pick up. It makes that's less friction to collaborating with your teammates.
Actually, that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. I totally forgot about this. So if you have ever used live share in VS Code, one of the pain points is that you need to share a URL and then the other person should click the URL and come in. With Hopp, all your team lives inside Hopp, so you just click call them and you call them. Another thing that we really liked from Zed, for example, Zed, the IDE, was that they had the channels concept. And channel is really nice because you can just click the channel and everybody can join. You don't need to share a link and you can have permanent channels. So in our case, we have a code review channel or architecture design channel or startup channels. And those are really nice because teams, for example, they may have a daily stand-up. They just go to the channel, everybody meets there and they start the stand-up, or they have the code reviews and they go there when they are about to review. Maybe they have allocated, daily time for code reviews to ship faster and not get PRs blocked. So yeah, thanks, Iason. I forgot about that.
And to make the link with the blog post, we support audio because you need to talk with your teammates, and the audio is not great. It's suboptimal. You feel that when it's first of all, it's the number one complaint that we get, that the audio is sometimes is not crisp, sometimes it cuts, and you can't join a room and play music from your for example, let's say you want to join a pair programming room. You're a team of 3 and all of you do mob programming, and then you join the room and you wait for your teammates and you just want to listen to music. You can't, because the moment you join the room, the playback from the music goes to mono channel, I think, and it sounds awful.
Yeah, which is just to clarify, it's not a Hopp. Technically, it's a Hopp, but effectively, it's a WebKit's limitation, which is a bug that is, submitted maybe 10 years ago and still has not been fixed, which is unfortunate for us. But of course, because Hopp's fundamental components is audio, video, and screen sharing, if one of them is suboptimal, it's a real bummer, which makes us, reevaluate. And based on this blog, which is the blog was just for anyone that was listening, the blog was why we hate WebKit and non-love letter. And effectively, this justifies our decision to effectively scrap WebKit and go full 100% Rust backend, which will be audio streaming, video streaming, screen sharing, and everything there. So we have total control and at the same time consistency across operating systems. So we don't have different behavior in macOS versus Windows versus Linux, basically because everybody was running their own web engine and it wasn't different end at the end of the day.
So have you actually totally scrapped Tauri yet, or still in the process of doing that?
So Tauri effectively will stay for us because Tauri, it's a really nice way to develop some parts of the UI. So the main UI will stay Tauri, but all the operations around audio streaming, video streaming, screen sharing will go to Rust, which we are in the process of doing right now, still a work in progress. But we thought about even scrapping Tauri, but in our case, it provides some really good building components, like build your UI in React, which is nice, at least for the main part of the app. Also distribution, updates, all those parts from Tauri are working out of the box. They're really helpful. So for us, it's a really nice thing. It also has a really nice sidecar approach where we use it to have our main core Rust component there out of the box. So those are the perks of Tauri. But yeah, if you,
Yeah, I was going to say that because to give a high level overview of how Hopp works. So you have the Tauri app, which is the UI. That's where we have the connection to our web server and you call it your teammates. And then that spawns another Rust process, which is, we call it core. And core is responsible for getting the stream, capturing your screen, connect to a live room, doing the screen sharing, and also responsible for simulating the local events. For example, simulating the mouse movements and the keyboard presses, and also doing the drawing. Hopp just spawns a transparent overlay surface to your whole screen, and this is where we draw the virtual cursors, etc. And we do that for capturing. And now for displaying the video stream on the other side, we're using Tauri. We're using the browser. So when you join a call and you click share screen, you start sharing your screen, and on the other person, we go through the Tauri window. We open a new window, again, still in Tauri. We're using React, and this is where we're displaying the stream.
I'm kind of curious about because you are discussing about the issues with WebKit and Tauri, right? Has there been other issues that you've noticed where it could just be even just plain old JavaScript CSS issues where when you develop it, I'm guessing you're probably mostly working on either Linux or Mac OS, and then when you go to Windows, it's just not working. Have you had more issues like this, or is this like really the biggest one?
Yeah, so we hit some cosmetic issues. Definitely, for example, from design to production, it changes based on WebKit's the limitations. And I feel I've watched this even in my previous job because I was leading the design system at my previous company, Neo4j, and we hit the limitations around how we can design components. For example, their shadows were breaking in WebKit in Safari effectively, while working in Chrome and Firefox, they were breaking in Safari, which is a bummer because you need to compromise your design if it looks nice just to make it work. And besides the limitation, one thing that I remember now, which is another perk of what we are gonna provide if we go all the way back into Rust, is that suddenly you have access to the buffers for the incoming stream. And this is really nice for us because if we think about some APIs that macOS provides, for example, the Apple Neural Engine provides an API which is almost 0 milliseconds penalty to upscale your image. So even if you stream your image in high definition, we can upscale this to 4K based on Apple's AI chip with 0 penalties, which is really nice. And we could do this almost 0. We could do this from the browser, but that means that we would have to pay a penalty to transfer the image from the WebKit process. That means from the browser to a backend, then call the macOS API, then return this back, which we measured it. We made the spike, Iason made the spike, which has a couple of milliseconds penalty in macOS and 50 milliseconds plus in Windows environments, which is basically half of the milliseconds budget you have, because if we have 100 milliseconds budget, if you spend 50 milliseconds just to transfer an image from your browser to the backend and back, that defeats the purpose. So that's one of the perks also of scrapping WebKit going full Rust.
Another thing that wasn't consistent between different WebKit versions is how the image is rendered when you're watching your stream. For example, we've noticed that on Chrome, the colors are more vibrant compared to Safari. And that's because of the color space they're using to go from one space, YUV, to RGB. And I'm pretty sure that that's the case because when we're doing a spike for something, I vibe coded to do the rendering with WebGL, and I changed in the shader. I wrote the data space conversion, and then when I did that and used the one that I was supposed to use, it made the colors to be the same on Safari as on Chrome. So that's something that's out of our control because we can't control. I mean, we could do the WebGL thing and do the rendering ourselves, but then what's the point of doing it? Why staying in the browser?
Yeah, I'm actually was more interested to know about like when you're working with React and stuff, if everything will work okay. I mean, specifically, what comes to my mind is like I had to make a tooltip in this client project, and I'm a back end developer, so like it's amazing how I can even color a button with my CSS skills. But I see you guys are also using Tailwind, so like without Tailwind, I think it'd be so much more difficult. But coming back to the main issue is like I remember talking to a Google, he's like a web specialist, and I met him in Shanghai, I think, or something, and I had a discussion with him about laying out content, and he was like, "Oh, did you know about Anchor, which is this new positioning API
API.
CSS?" Yeah, yeah, but it's I mean, when I talked to him, it was about a year ago, or maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And it takes a long time for this stuff to go downstream. Like Google is always like at the forefront of most of this stuff. Maybe they're pushing most of the stuff, but I didn't implement it because like it wasn't in Safari, it wasn't in like Firefox, which I care less and less about every day. Um, but in general, like it wasn't all these things. But then I took a look at like can I use, which I'm guessing you guys probably look at sometimes. Yeah, it's available, but it just became available, I think, in the recent version of Firefox. Basically,
Okay.
yeah. So like I remember that my partner doesn't like to upgrade his stuff, and he likes to use Firefox, which is like one of the only people who's still holding out in Firefox that I can think of. And so he has
And
issues with
Costa,
rendering that thing. Yeah, is he?
I'm trying my best, but yeah, it's really hard to. I mean, Firefox now introduced finally after so many years profiles, so maybe they will start gaining traction again. And for me, that was the biggest pain point: profiles missing, because I want to switch, context switch. I'm in my work, I finish my work, I want to switch profile. I don't want to be in the same context effectively, which they now introduced, which is nice. But I haven't got my hands dirty. But actually, this is true. Chrome is actually pushing really hard for the specs to go out. They're innovating in this. It's their space, which makes sense. I mean, browsers is their bread and butter. They make money out of the browser, so totally worth to push everything. And the good and the bad thing for some things like the Anchor API, maybe you will have polyfills. So polyfills are a way to effectively support an API without the penalty, of breaking in Safari. The gray area is if something is not supported, even with a polyfill, because it actually cannot be supported. And for example, the CSS shadows cannot be polyfilled. They will just appear broken because it's so much deep in the rendering state of the browser, which you can not do any hack to make it work, which is the pain point. And that being said, writing UI with React is delightful, at least from my side. It's really nice to write. I mean, literally the browser has all the right primitives to write easy user interfaces. Because right now, to give you context, also we started designing the UI with Iced, which is a Rust framework for building cross-platform user interfaces, which is, of course, it's not the same. It's not as easy. You don't have Tailwind to style your components, but at least you have consistency. They will appear exactly the same everywhere, which is the advantage of this situation.
I think it's definitely one of the best things that came out recently is Tailwind. It's really nice having the classes out there like that. And I used to dislike not having all these components, but to be honest, when you work with designers, you're not using Bootstrap everywhere, like maybe nowhere now. So it's like you lose that appeal
Yeah.
of of that. So, and now basically every web front end I think has some kind of component idea. So you would make your component and you just style it with CSS and it just works. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean things have changed, have they? I feel like an old man. Oh, I miss the old times.
It's definitely, I mean, yeah, the last years, it was definitely a paradigm switch from, Bootstrap or having
Yeah.
SCSS for your components to everything being Tailwind right now. I mean, Tailwind, I think it was a quote back in the days, software is eating the world, and now it's like Tailwind is eating the web development. I mean, everything is Tailwind.
Yeah, I mean it all it is just one CSS class per like what do you call that? Attribute or whatever, right? And it's such a simple idea, but and it's
Yeah.
just so easy to read. That's like I think the best part is that you can look. You have everything in one place. I'm kind of curious. So we did have a discussion. This is kind of like a passion, kind of a side weekend project that you guys are working on. But you hope that this obviously becomes a bigger thing because you're so kind of really into it. What's coming up on the milestones for the future? Are you adding in more features that you're going to be really excited about, or is like you're just focusing on just that one issue of adding in more Rust to deal with WebKit issues? Like what's going on right now?
Yeah, so right now our main focus is because we already started the work is to migrate everything to Rust, and this for us will just have a really solid baseline around our fundamentals. What we provide, we want them to be solid. That means audio, video, and screen sharing. Um, After that is done, one of the next milestones is to allow integrations. We just started with Slack integration, so that means you can go to Slack, you can write /hop command, and this will start you a hop call from Slack. Then we can think integrations like Microsoft Teams, Raycast, maybe Granola if you want transcriptions after you finish your call. And then the next part of the milestone is enterprise support. That means that if you're an enterprise, you probably need SSO. You need to manage your users outside Hopp, and this is something that we know we need to work. But right now, it was not a super high priority, as we were mainly targeting small to medium-sized enterprises. And I'm not sure if Iason am forgetting something on.
Yeah, we know that the product is not as we would like it to be. We want to make one of the best screen sharing tools for developers. So this means we need to fix the audio. And so it's the process of migrating, going using all of the hard stuff in Rust is very important. And then after the migration, we also want to add key bindings because, for example, I'm a dev. I prefer to don't use my mouse, to just use my keyboard. And being able to join a call, mute myself, change screens, so what I'm sharing is something that I would like to add to the product. We also want to fix a bit the how we're handling the streaming configuration because now it's a weekend project. So we can't spend awful amount of time. We want to have something ready to get feedback. So what we do now is when you start a call, we always use the same encoder. We use VP9, and when you start a call, you choose a resolution, and that's it. The same resolution, so it's not dynamic. If the other person has, if the controller, the person who sees your screen has a bad internet connection, we don't change. You have to stop sharing and start again. So we want to also change that and make it more dynamic. So it's people won't feel any lag. We want to optimize for the highest possible resolution and the lowest latency. And when we do all these things, because now we have macOS and Windows, but because me and Costa we're on macOS, the macOS client is in a better state. We have an old Lenovo. I test the Windows client every now and then, but I don't use it as I use the macOS one. So we want them to polish that, and finally we'll be able to support Linux because now we don't have Linux support at all.
Yeah, I saw that. I was curious, how many people from Linux are actually kind of like complaining about this?
A
I think
fair
we have,
amount.
yeah.
A fair amount.
We have every now and then someone that joins the waiting list and they're like, we let us know when you have the Linux because right now there isn't something similar on Linux, but it might change in the future. It might be late. We might be maybe someone else would do it first, and but it is what it is. If we, unfortunately, we can't, as long as we are working and we don't have any income or we don't have any substantial income from Hopp. Which is something that's tough, right? It's I want to make the product better and as fast as possible, but at the same time I need to accept that I can't, because I only have, I don't know, 20, 25 hours per week to work on that.
And I think top of my mind, around 20% of our signups are Linux users. And being honest, right now we kind of support them, meaning that we have a web client. So you might be able to join a Hopp call from your browser, but that means, of course, that you will not have the best possible experience, because then you're again inside the browser. That means that if you want to share your screen, it will be browsers based screen sharing, which is not the best quality, not the best latency, but it's something. You'll not be able to draw, which is not the best experience, but still at least you will be able to see your teammates. I mean, you will not be as cool as your teammates, unfortunately, yet, but yeah, we want to fix this as soon as we migrate everything to Rust, which will be way easier. Not super easy, but way easier to support the Linux community.
I know I remember we talked earlier about the distribution of the apps, right? So, but if you start to distribute your app into Linux, that's a very fragmented system, right? I mean, I'm kind of curious, are you making notes about which, what do you call that, distribution that everybody's using, so that way you can figure out like which ones make the most sense to really support? Or are you going to try to work with some downstream maintainers that can do that? Because I think there's a lot of people that have like, there's like a maintainer that has like X amount of packages, and they're the ones who are watching it, and then when they feel it's the right time, then they make a new, like a Debian file or whatever it is for the distribution, no?
To be honest, we haven't thought about that at all. We have decided when we'll add support, at least we want support Ubuntu, because there's so many distros, so at least we can do that ourselves, and then rely on the community. Maybe, yeah, we should find maintainers. I think they have also the Snap.
Snap.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we could do that. I don't really know, to be honest.
Distribution, yeah, in our case in Linux it will be a question mark, and because it's not a homogeneous group like in macOS or Windows. You need to find the quickest wins based on the market share. I mean, we know definitely Ubuntu has the biggest market share. I'm not sure what is the second one in Linux land as an OS, but yeah, we need to tackle at least the biggest market share there.
I mean, if you hit Debian, then you're basically going to be able to hit Ubuntu, if I understand correctly.
Yeah.
But I know, like you said, you mentioned Snaps. I think that Snap is mostly an Ubuntu-led project. I'm not sure if how it all works.
Yeah,
but I guess that's probably an easiest method. There's also a Rust package for bundling stuff in Linux. I think I played with it once for a project. So I mean, there's probably I think there's also services where you can just kick your binary and then they will build it and then output all the packages for you. So maybe it's something else to look at. Maybe GitHub Action or something.
Yeah. I think Tauri probably supports, because one of the good things, we're using Tauri to sign our apps and bundle them for Windows and macOS. And I think they do that the same for Linux, but I haven't checked the details, which I can check now, actually.
Okay. Yeah, I think we kind of went over everything. I think the article that you guys sent over was really interesting, and I'm happy to hear that you're finding a way around it and you're not totally ditching Tauri, because I think Tauri's got a lot of really good features in it, especially like they're really pushing security. So for when you go for enterprise, I'm sure that's like one of the top things that they're going to be asking about. Are you in discussions with some people for enterprise support and all that, or not quite yet?
For Hopp, we are not yet. I mean, we had requests from enterprises. I cannot give the names, but enterprise that ask about security features, about self-host, about SSO support. And I know from enterprises I have worked that they use pairing tools that SSO is a must-have, basically for user management. So this is definitely something that we will support. Probably down the road, it will be probably Q2 to Q3 of this year. But yeah, this is a must-have if you want to integrate.
Yeah, but we don't have anything that's set in stone yet. Some people asked, we responded, but that was it, unfortunately.
Oh, is it just like, do you offer this? You say, yeah, we can, and then they just didn't come back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the enterprise stuff, it's just like years long process of approvals and everything else. So I can imagine. Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else I wanted to ask. Is there something that we didn't cover today that you wanted to cover?
No, I think it was a really nice talk. Yeah, around Rust and around Tailwind, which was fun.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
yeah, Tailwind. I wish there was. That's actually there is one last question. I'm kind of curious about. Is there any looks or thoughts about going for like a Rust based front end, or that's just not something you see? Because there's things like Lepto that you can just write in Rust, right? Are you not looking at something like that? You just enjoy React that much, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah.
But we'll do Rust frontend for the Windows. For example, the window for viewing the stream will be Rust based, and we decided to go with Heist because now we're using WInit and WGPU for with the render we're doing, and I found with Heist it was quite easy to use their WGPU renderer with our infrastructure with WInit, and that's why we decided it seemed that the one that's easier to work with what we currently have. And yeah, now the screen sharing windows and the camera view, they will be in Rust.
So effectively, all the screens that have events rendered, they will be Iced based, and Iced, as we discussed a little bit around the web, Iced is also based on Elm architecture for rendering, which is a really nice loop around rendering your UI components, which is nice. Of course, it's not gonna be like React that easy, but yeah, hopefully, yeah, LLMs can help us with that to write clean UI, and then we do the rest.
Yeah. Okay, I'm looking forward to see what happens. It's pretty cool what you guys are working on. I may even consider to pick it up because sometimes we're working apart, so it would be good to have something just a little bit better. Yeah, again, it's great having you guys on. We'll probably, if you're interested, when you hit the next milestone, when you add in more of the Rust stuff, it'd be cool to have you guys back on to see how things are going.
Nice.
On that, thanks for coming on, and I wish you guys project good luck.
Thank you for having us.
Having us. Yeah.